grey hot.
Is that right? I'm Joel. Oh, I've also got this. Want to playback loop? Seemed like the audio wasn't synced for some reason. I don't hear you in the stream. Even though we're streaming and watching the stream. I hear me though. If anyone's watching right now, we're just working out some technical difficulties. If you can hear us, can hear me anyway, or you could hear me. We will get started shortly. It's our first time back to doing this after many moons.
Hello?
But we'll get going. I'll keep watching it too to hear when I hear your voice, or if I do hear your voice. There's quite a big lag from the...
Yeah, I think I might have fixed it.
Okay. I'll let you know.
That may be the best thing to do.
Still checking on the audio, folks. Keep watching. We will be talking about the episode shortly.
I just set the mic audio to default.
Good.
For me.
Good. It's weird to like listen to myself talking while also. Oh yeah, you're there.
Okay. Well, we figured it out. Should I do the intro again, or?
Yeah, do it again.
Okay, we'll do the intro again, and
not the music, but just do. Unless you could edit it later and like take out this part.
we probably won't though.
Yeah, fair enough. Just do your little like sippy sip.
Okay.
There he is. All right, your cup isn't as important as mine.
No.
So. Yeah. Although I'm drinking coffee out of it, Janeway would be happy, but Picard would not be. No, he
That's
wouldn't
true.
care, as you said. All right, well, we're on.
Welcome to the Picard Maneuver. My name's Tim,
I'm Joel. Kind of said that earlier, but I think we missed it.
and we're here to talk about the new season of Picard that just started today, just aired. The Next Generation
Crazy.
is the name of the episode.
Already on season 3. Feels weird. Time flies.
Yeah,
I think we started season 1 before the pandemic, right?
It was right at the pandemic. Because remember, we were
Was
doing
it?
the
Yeah.
YouTubes initially, and like it wasn't a pandemic when we started, and then it was. So it was like right in that February, March 2020, where
Yeah, and then we had to start doing the episodes remotely and all that stuff, so I do remember that. But anyway, let's not talk about the pandemic. We've all heard enough about that.
well, the season 2 and 3 were filmed together, and sort of
Right.
during the pandemic and stuff.
Yeah.
But tonally, they
Okay.
seem very different. There doesn't seem to be much crossover.
Thankfully. It's episode 1, so I mean, a lot could change. And you know, in the past, the past seasons, so season 2, I felt episode 1 also started off really strong and felt tonally different from the rest of the season. So I'm still not sure if like the episode 1 is a great tell of what the rest of the season will be like. But you're right. At least episode 1 this season is very different from the end of season 2.
Yeah, it seems like a
starting
strong start.
What'd you think? So yeah, you thought it was a strong start?
It seems like what we want. I think I have the same reaction in that the setup seems very similar to season 1 setup, where it's the first episode's a very sort of clear Picard call to action.
Right.
But he's not
Someone needs
allowed
help.
to get help from Starfleet, but he can, in this case, get help from Riker. But it feels like the way that they're going to structure the next few episodes in the mystery, he's going to kind of keep trying to solve something, keep trying to solve the mystery, similar to the first few episodes of season 1, where him and Soji, or no, he was going to helping to find Soji and
right.
etc.
And then there was like the Borg.
Yeah, well, first they were trying to find Maddox, and that led them to that episode at the Stardust City Reg, and then they were trying to find
your favorite episode.
And then, there were stages of it where we didn't really entirely have an idea of what was going on. They just he was just sort of being pushed to find the next thing, episode to episode, and then sort of just ended up somewhere.
Right. So, not to I think some of the issues with the previous seasons, as you talk about that, and hopefully this season doesn't deal with some of the same issues or have the same issues, is that they kind of overcomplicated plots a little bit, like where even when you're describing season 1, it's like Soji and then like Maddox, and then like things got really complicated and confusing, and it was like trying to figure it all out. Starting off right now, you're right, call to action, but in this case, Beverly Crusher, which certainly lots of history between Picard and Crusher. Riker involved right from the get-go here instead of taking his time, and then he also gave like kind of a quick explanation why Deanna and what's his daughter's name again?
Oh, I don't remember right now.
I think I shouldn't ask if you don't have it written down.
Yeah, there was a weird line. Maybe we can make it to it. Well, we're talking about the characters now, so now's a good time. So yeah, Riker was the one we already had met in the previous, mostly in season 1. So. Or maybe only in season 1, so we already knew him where he was in the world. He said something kind of passive aggressive, where he's like, "I think my wife and daughter are happy for me to be away," and then Picard sort of acts like, "What are you talking about?" And then they just keep going on from that.
But they just keep going. Yeah, it's just like a throwaway line, but it's almost like he's in trouble at home or something's weird going on there.
I didn't really understand, and it's a little confusing because if you remember in the first season, he was kind of retired from Starfleet and just making pizza in the woods, and it was cool. But then he had that big moment where he had a ship, and then those 80 identical ships that appeared at the same time
at the end.
So I don't really understand where Riker is. I guess he's retired.
What's really going on?
He's no longer the captain of the Titan, obviously, and the fact that he's retired is a plot point in this episode. But it's a little confusing. But
I agree. Yeah. But anyway, so they're off pretty quick. Episode 1 jumps you right into not only Picard and Riker being back together, but also Crusher, Beverly being a major player in this season as well. But they talk fairly nonchalantly as well about, and it also felt a bit like a. I don't know. We'll see later. But the 20-year absence of Crusher. So they're kind of talking about how.
To look into. Yeah, the episode felt a little short, but there is quite a few things to talk about, I think, with the setup and on this season. So, do we want to start?
Let's get right into it.
Yeah, let's go sort of screenshot by screenshot.
Yeah. Okay. There she is.
All right, so the start of the episode. Actually, let's talk about the credits. I don't know if we have a screenshot of them, but the music, the opening music, and the closing music in particular, and the text for the credits was all really classic Next Generation. The music was right from the movies. I think the opening one might have been more like the First Contact one, and the ending one might have been more like the Generations theme. I'm not certain right now, but either way, like it was. The music was very TNG movies, and
the font was
the ending credits font was the exact same TNG font again. If you remember, the
really
original Picard did not have that. So Picard season 1 and 2 had just like generic. I don't even remember, but it was like nothing like Star Trek.
It was more of that like action-based cinematic opening and closing credits versus like this felt almost more television opening and closing credits.
Yeah, and the actual opening sequence wasn't very long. The music was there.
No, people skip that stuff anyway, right? Like there's not a lot of.
I'm okay with that. Is the way the shows are done now, and there isn't like there's a central ship.
Right. Yeah.
Oh, they kept making stabs at the Enterprise D. Remember when he was in the bar scene?
Yeah, that ship was fat or something.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I feel like it was
right. Was like, you better watch it there, lady. Like the lady at the bar, he was just like, watch what you say about, or have respect for. I forget, but anyway, he took it personally. That's okay. I mean, some of the playfulness towards, they kind of play around a little bit with like their age and their there was one moment where Riker calls.
Well, let's talk about that when we get to the scene with them in it, because the opening sequence here had quite a lot going on. It set up. So there was a sequence right at the start where I only caught the end of it. Actually, and it's in my notes. There was a log from Picard.
Right. I didn't take notes when I watched it this time, as I usually do.
I got my notes. So I only caught the end of it. I have no explanation for their special interest in me or the ship. We continue to prepare our defenses. And I didn't right away catch what it was, but if you listen to the whole thing, it's definitely from Best of Both Worlds, Part 1. Picard talking about the Borg.
Yeah.
So she was listening to that. Now, I originally thought that log, before I realized what it was, would have some clue to who the bad guys were, because Crusher seems to know more about the bad guys, of course, than anyone else. So she was maybe doing research on it. But later on, we sort of learned that Riker can decode her coordinates based on that 3 virus, because of a reference to Best of Both Worlds.
Adding 3 to every digit or whatever it was.
Yeah, exactly. So I think that's the only tie-in for why that log was there. The only other thing it could be, and we'll maybe get with the character, but her son character might have been listening to it in a very sort of like David Marcus way, but I'm skeptical of that.
Yeah.
David Marcus being Kirk's son, who was sort of like initially hated Kirk and
right.
was sort of obsessed with him. So we find it, we do so that pan off, we find that it's Crusher and something's bad. She's attacked by some bad guys with those masks.
You said clicking noise, which I didn't even really remember. But
guys. So this is a screenshot from the trailer, or a promotional screenshot with
this isn't from episode 1.
We didn't see Vadic in the first episode, but we saw some of those guys with the masks. And Crusher took them out.
Yeah. They had like these almost like machine gun style phasers, and then she had her giant shotgun, cocking phaser. But they're attacking her. We also have. They haven't explained this yet, but like, and we didn't even know in the moment that this is her son. That was like. She closes a door and like keeps him away.
We don't even see him in that scene. We just hear him. It's an odd scene because it's not clear where he is.
Let me out. And I think what I'm assuming is that she's trying to protect him from what's going on here. So she like locks him in and then deals with these. But then later, well, we'll talk about that. But anyway, so that's kind of the introduction there. You've got these baddies who have masks on. We don't see this guy yet, but we see the bad guys with these guns. They're attacking her. She dispenses with a few of them, but then suddenly there's another warning that says incoming ship. So she's like, oh, there's more. This isn't over. And that's when she, I guess, makes the decision to
contact Picard, send
help from Picard,
send a secret message for help from Picard. Which seems in the cycle of the thread, like, she should do that. She should ask for Picard's help if she's being constantly attacked by all these bad guys.
Even after 20 years of like not talking to him or anyone else, I guess. And then so Picard is at his chateau, and
do we want to talk first about who these bad guys are? Do we have any idea about who these bad guys are? So that's the big sort of mystery.
Just a reminder. I don't have a lot of time to like go into too many details about like every. I'll probably have to be done this in like 15 minutes.
Okay.
So we should maybe like just kind of go through the episode and.
Okay, so we have time. We can talk about bad guys afterwards.
Yeah, well, we can always circle back if we have time. But I was just going to briefly touch on how Picard is back at the chateau. He's with Laris, which kind of season 2 ended with him finally going and pursuing that relationship. They're kind of hinting at like the two of them are planning to move somewhere and like kind of settle into this life. And she's like, you don't have to pretend you want that, Picard. And he's like, no, I want that. But then he says at one point he wants, he just wants adventure still. He doesn't want to leave a legacy, he says. And then his comm badge starts going off. And then to skip ahead, basically, Laris says, I don't want to stop you. Go on your adventure. And he says, I'll see you soon. And then she's like, well, maybe not so soon.
Yeah.
He goes off.
That seemed a very sort of direct hint that we're not going to see her character again.
Yeah, it's kind of them explaining away, like, don't expect to see Laris again because Picard's going on his adventure, and she says, I'm okay with it. Which, anyway, I could get into all the details around, like that relationship, and but anyway, so he meets up with Riker.
Yep, so he needs...
They are.
So he realizes Crusher needs help, but doesn't really know what to do, so he goes right to Riker, I guess, and they meet in a bar.
Yeah.
And the bar is... so we're referencing some festival, some celebration that's coming. Oh, I didn't know what it was called here. But it's like some Starfleet Federation celebration of, like, exploration.
Yeah. But so it's interesting too because Crusher said specifically don't go to Starfleet.
Yeah, she said Hellbird, no Starfleet, trust no one.
Trust no one. Which of course someone sending an encrypted message would say those things. And so he goes to Riker, who obviously he would trust Riker. And then they're kind of like. Several times he's saying, I don't want you to jeopardize your relationship with Deanna or your relationship with Starfleet and Riker. We mentioned this earlier, but Riker kind of says, well, Deanna and his daughter, I forget her name, they probably don't want me around right now anyway. Plus, it's kind of like, when did you ever care about... Picard says something about his safety, and he's like, when did you start caring about my safety? Like, which I thought was kind of a fun line because they've gone on so many adventures. It's weird for Picard to kind of say like, well, I don't want to put you in danger. And Riker.
There was always the dynamic that Riker was the one going down to the planet, and Picard.
Since when do you worry about putting me in danger? Like, come on, let's do this. Let's go on an adventure. So, I mean, right off the bat, I was happy to see them just jump right into Picard and Riker together. It just tried testing into relationships. Like, they just work well on camera. They they play well off of each other. So I even part of why I'm some of what I'm enjoying is just seeing in those moments. I think they're on the shuttlecraft at one point, and this is skipping ahead a bit, but it doesn't matter in plot. Picard just says something like, "Are you enjoying this?" And Riker's like, "Oh, you're enjoying this too," or something. And I'm thinking. It's the characters talking, but it's also the actors talking. It's probably Patrick Stewart also kind of saying to Jonathan Frakes, like, hey, like we're kind of back in the driver, like we're back in the, where we met and how they built this friendship and this great show. And anyway, so it's pretty cool.
And they do mention at this time the first fact that they hadn't been in contact with Crusher for 20 years. Yeah. Beverly had basically cut them off 20 years ago, which is roughly the last time we sort of saw them after Nemesis.
Yeah.
Which is surprising.
Don't mean to rush things. Gotta rush.
So them just checking. So this is them. They must already
this is on the Titan, I think.
Be going towards the Titan. So Riker hacks the 3 thing. They know they need to go to the Riken system.
Yeah.
How are they going to do that? They choose the Titan.
Let's pretend we're doing an inspection of the Titan.
So it's I found the tracking a little weird in that. So Riker was the previous captain of this Titan. It's not clear how recent. The Titan had just been refitted. There didn't seem to be any continuity of crew. No one on the crew recognized or knew Riker. We didn't see that
That's true. Good point.
Which is surprising. But his playlist was still set.
Right. Which got made fun of. He doesn't like jazz.
He doesn't like jazz. He associates jazz with bourbon.
Disorder.
Bourbonistas and disorder, which is more of just the way he's being a jerk to Riker. We're setting this guy up.
He was like an off-putting jerk. Like his jerkiness to Picard and Riker was such a jerk that it was like almost like it almost felt comedic to some degree, because you're like, wow, this guy's really disrespectful.
Even someone who kind of hated them would like play it differently. Oh, and his name, he had 2 names. I thought they called him Captain Chaucer, like the poet, but they also called him Shaw. So I think his name might be Shaw Chaucer.
Shaw Chaucer.
Which is what I'm going with.
Let's go with it. Anyway, just huge jerk.
Yeah. And no one
immediately says,
no one on his crew or his number one seemed to like him either. He was super racist against the X7 as an ex-Borg, but no one on his crew seemed to like him or listen to him either. So I guess it's a new crew or something.
Set up for a captain to be like such a kind of rotten person. And anyway, so he also denies their request to go to this system. Because they say, oh, why don't we go there? It'll look good. I mean, even the reasoning, even if I was a captain and Picard and Riker approach me with that, I might be like, no, that's not a good idea. But that's their plan. He says no. Seven is on board. Is she in the next photo?
Yeah, well, there's a scene that cuts up. This is just them arriving, and here's Seven. And there's a scene that cuts up between here, and then there's another scene right after this scene with Raffi. So we should talk about Raffi's inclusion in the first episode, because they did sort of a double fake that kind of annoyed me. So they set up Raffi as being really strung out and on drugs again, which was before the season started. The one thing I said about Raffi is I really hope they don't do another sort of arc of her like being strung out. But it was really over the top, so you could sort of tell that she was going undercover trying to get some information from this Orion. But then they sort of backtracked on that, and they showed scenes of her considering doing the drugs and really being strung out. And then she was looking at videos where it must be her granddaughter, but doing that same the same thing she did in the last two seasons, where she's a mother, she's like a failed mother, angry about that dynamic. So it seemed to be just retreading more of the same stuff we saw.
Yeah. So I probably my least favorite thing of episode 1 was the B plot of going back to Raffi and Raffi's involvement in, because it also felt tacked on. Like it really felt tacked on in a way that I even noticed the music between her scenes and then the scenes that would follow. It felt like the volume all of a sudden would drop, as if the editor was like. It didn't feel like it was initially part of the episode. Like it was really weird because the music would drop where it'd be like building tension with a scene with Raffi, and then all of a sudden they would just drop the volume and it would cut to like Riker and Picard like in a shuttle, and like the tension would be gone, and it just felt like okay. That scene. Anyway, so I mean, I don't mind Raffi as a character, but I agree with you that kind of bringing in again this like she's just always struggling and like lonely and pining over her granddaughter or whatever that situation is. Like it's just
well, I thought in the second season her dynamic with Seven was very strong, and that was sort of a high point of the season for me.
And they quickly referenced that too. Where was it Raffi that said, "Oh, my girlfriend left me"?
Yeah, but she said that as part of her backstory for why she was undercover. I don't think they necessarily are broken up. Maybe it's just they're separated because she wanted to go on that undercover mission. Although that seems like a weird thing for her to choose to do.
Yeah, I would say they're probably not together anymore. And that's almost the way that the writers were like, okay, they're separate because something bad happened between them. And maybe that's partially why she's sad again too.
It just seems like retreading. But one thing they did oddly introduce a handler character for her.
Right.
And I was speculating. I think it's probably Worf, right? This is based just on the fact.
I thought that was a good guess.
This is based just on the fact that the handlers referred to her as a warrior, and that why would they introduce sort of a hidden handler if it wasn't a reveal of someone we cared about?
It's got to be a reveil, like the voice you don't recognize because it's like an automated voice.
Yeah, and it's clearly like the opposite voice of Worf. So
so I hadn't thought of that, but when you said you think that's probably going to be Worf, I would imagine that you're correct. I think that, or at least that would be a good place for that to go, and that's where you bring in Worf and so to kind of tie in her plot, because again, I hate to do this, but I literally have like probably 5 minutes left, which doesn't not really doing justice necessarily, but we're trying to fit in our time to be able to like still do this first review of episode 1. But to wrap that up a little bit, she finds out that there's a terrorist attack. She gets there too late, and witnesses basically this like weapon being used. And again, it felt like
jump thing.
And again, it just felt to me like that plot was tacked on, because even her witnessing that, and then she's like literally by herself on the like.
It was
no other
really
actors.
Weird, how she was suddenly
no
there.
one else present.
Was that
There's
Earth?
no one else. And like, is she in a simulation? Because she even tries to contact the Federation and says, "You guys need to acknowledge this is going to happen," and nobody responds to her. There's literally nothing.
But in the previous scene, she was on some Orion bar figuring out this information. So how did she get to where the attack was happening? On the red lady was a Rachel Garrett statue. How did she get there without telling anyone? And then it only happened at the last minute that she got there.
And so that is partially. It wasn't again even like there's nothing inherently wrong with what's happening with her character and what she's doing, but it just in the entirety of the episode, it felt like shoehorned a little bit. So LaForge.
Yep, so LaForge has a daughter. I don't think we heard her first name in the episode. I think she's credited somewhere, but...
They might, but yeah, I mean, Ensign LaForge and Crash LaForge.
Crash LaForge, yeah. Riker just makes fun of her for crashing ships as a cadet.
Yeah. So we don't meet... Geordi wasn't in this episode. I thought maybe he would be, but we're not going to meet him yet, but we do meet... Because this is
they mentioned
actually...
Geordi as he's the head of some museum or records that he wants to send that painting to.
Right, yeah, I forgot about that. But anyway, so she is actually LeVar Burton's daughter in real life, is she not?
I believe so. There's two daughter characters in the season.
Okay, so maybe this.
But I'm pretty sure this is the one that is LeVar Burton's daughter.
Okay. So moving on. We got to move on. I should be leaving now. I've got to letting the viewers know. I have my daughter.
Okay, so there was Captain Shaw Chaucer.
Yeah, we talked about him a bit and how he was like a huge jerk, and he eats his food really like
jerk like. That's the thing that jerks always do. Remember, like in Lord of the Rings, when that guy was corrupted or whatever, he was eating food in front of people is like a certain type of jerk move.
Yeah, just like eating it in a way where you just want to like smack the food out of his hand.
Well, I already started to move because your
reputation pursues you in a way that made me realize I should just like eat before you arrive or something.
It was something.
It was dirty move.
He seems like they might try to switch him up like a Jellicoe, but
right. And I think if someone starts off that evil, it almost projects like that there's going to be a character shift because like. I shouldn't say evil, but like a jerk. Like he's just not a nice guy, and it seems like the crew hates him, and Seven hates him, and Riker and Picard have like so it's almost like in the end he's gonna like turn out to be like gotta hand it to you, Shaw. You really saved us in the end there, and he's like I had to turn over a new leaf. I don't know.
Okay, but Seven does help them against Shaw Chaucer's orders.
While he's sleeping.
While he's sleeping, and sends them off to the Righton system.
Yeah.
Where Crusher is in stasis already.
Yeah, she's in stasis because she's injured critically. And that's I imagine that was the best way.
I guess I didn't even really compute why. So she was injured but couldn't fix herself. So she decided to go in stasis.
Well, they say her vital signs are pretty. Well, I thought her son maybe put her in stasis.
Yeah, her son. Yeah, they said specifically that it had to be done by someone else.
So he saved. I would imagine saved her life, even though she had locked him in that room. Maybe after she released him to try to help her.
Well, the room I think was the bridge.
No, the room that she had him locked in. He was locked on the bridge.
It looked like a small room in the first scene, but then later on, I'm pretty sure that's the room that...
I just assumed he had been released from that room at that point.
No, he must have been released by that point, but...
Yeah. I didn't see the room.
But yeah, I wasn't thinking about it at the time, but in retrospect, it's a really sort of on the nose way to make her there without being able to actually explain anything to Picard.
She's frozen. She's in stasis. So yeah, but then you have the son who doesn't say anything other than he says he's the son. I don't remember how there he is. How does he say that? Is he just like she's my?
Yeah, he said I'm her son.
Right.
Which is obviously confusing. He doesn't so he'd have to be under 20. But people can be people's sons in other ways too. She could be adopted.
That's
somehow.
True. Good point. Yeah.
I mean, the speculation is obviously is he the son of Picard as well?
So that was kind of what we were speculating, and then that would give maybe reason to why they haven't heard from her in 20 years, because it's almost like for whatever reason something she was hiding from the original, the crew of the Enterprise, like all of her close friends, because for whatever reason she's maybe ashamed of it, or she just didn't want them to be involved in his life for some reason. Maybe she's like mad because of a lot of them. Wesley went off with, and she wants to have a son that doesn't just disappear on her because of like adventure. I don't know.
Yeah, because to me it doesn't. It seems pretty low. It seems pretty bad to have a son of someone without telling them, without them even knowing. Like that's what
we'll
she
see.
do.
It may not be that at all, but like that's kind of.
But right now, like it does sort of have David Marcus vibes to the setup. He doesn't seem to like Picard or trust Picard right away,
right.
Which is surprising too. Maybe.
Can we summarize at any point here? The bad ship.
Yeah, and this is the last sort of, or one of the last screenshots we've got. This is how the scene ends. We see the villain ship, and Crusher's little ship there too, which I thought was pretty cool. I liked how it was like a small version of a Starfleet.
Yeah. So I mean, the bad ship clearly looks really evil. I tend to kind of like enemies that look like really evil and ships that look really evil. I always feel is a little lazy, because it's kind of like, let's project through the thing. Like I don't think it always has to be that way. I don't think, and it also they did the whole like when the ship shows up, you hear the really low rumbling like I forget. I don't know what instrument it is, but it's like that brass instrument that they always use. It's like, It's like, yeah, there's the evil ship. It would be almost funny if they like cut to the inside of the ship and everyone's just like, good day to you, sir. Oh yes, good day. Yes, it's Oh look, a small little starship. Let's say hello. Bring them some fruits and vegetables. They're just not evil at all. Is my point. See what I'm saying? Yeah. So that's kind of so. Again, I hate to do this, but I liked episode 1. I thought it was a good launching point. It certainly wasn't perfect. There were things that were a little weaker, I felt, but overall, the tone was good. It felt a little. There was a few moments where people were just walking on a starship or sitting and talking on a starship, which I kind of missed that, like the building of relationships in these moments when people are just going from point A to point B, even like when Riker and Picard are on the shuttlecraft when they've left the Titan, and they're just talking. And I'm excited. I'm excited for the season. I'm cautious.
Cautiously optimistic.
There we go. That's what I was looking for. Because
someone made a comment in our YouTube chat.
Oh yeah.
I knew it was going to be bad when they got Hunter Biden to play the captain of the USS Titan, and then he retracted it. Oh, it was like some sort of Snyderverse comment.
Oh, is that what's going on? Okay.
Well,
anyway, so that's my thoughts on episode 1. Opening and ending credits were cool. Like I like how they did some throwback stuff. Some of the stuff felt more, again, in line with what I was hoping. I'm really excited to see Geordi. I'm really excited to see Worf. I love these characters. I really hope that on top of them being great characters that we get to see interact again, that the season is good. So that's my final thought.
Well, optimistic and excited to see the next episode. I would like longer and like to see more crew.
And we'll do our next, we'll maybe do this from where we used to do this live streams and have it set up a little better and stuff. But we wanted to just get started and not wait too long after episode 1's aired. So there it is. Episode 1 review.
All right, episode 1. How do we used to end these? We would
say something about, and I hope we kept you engaged.
Yeah. So that was our review. That was our review of Picard Season 3, Episode 1.
And as always, we hope you kept
engaged.
We hope we kept you engaged. See you next time.
All right, and we have an outro.